My son invited me to his wedding planning to embarrass me. "I'll disgrace that woman," he said. I just laughed. On the wedding day, I arrived in a Rolls-Royce Ghost with bodyguards, and when he saw me, he collapsed. But let me back up. Let me tell you how a man loses everything twice in one lifetime, and what happens when he finally stops pretending to be decent about it. 3 weeks before the wedding, the invitation arrived, cream-colored cardstock, embossed lettering, the works. Evan Alexander Hale requests the honor of your presence. My son, the peacock. I held it up to the light in my apartment, the same apartment I'd lived in for 17 years, the one I bought with the severance package after corporate America decided I made a convenient scapegoat for their structural failures. The invitation came with a handwritten note. Evan's handwriting, all loops and flourishes, like he was signing a constitution. "Dad, Mum won't be there. Lisa and I think it's time you finally showed up for something that matters. Don't embarrass us." I read it 3 times. Don't embarrass us. Not, we'd love to see you, or please come celebrate. Don't embarrass us. I called my daughter. Lisa answered on the 4th ring. "What do you want?" she said. "Hello to you too, sweetheart." "I'm busy, Dad." "Got Evan's invitation. Wanted to confirm the date." Silence on the line. Then, "You're actually coming?" "Says right here I'm invited." "We figured you'd make an excuse. You always do." I leaned back in my kitchen chair, the same chair I'd sat in when I helped her with algebra homework, when I taught her how to balance a checkbook, when I explained compound interest and why credit cards were a trap. She'd listened then, nodded seriously, told me I was the smartest dad in the world. "I'll be there," I said. "Fine. But Dad..." Her voice dropped. "Dress appropriately. This is a high-class event. Evan's marrying into a very prominent family. I'll wear my best suit." "That grey thing from 2010. Jesus, Dad. Never mind, just try not to look homeless." She hung up. I sat there holding the phone, looking around my apartment. 1 bedroom, but it was mine, paid in full. No mortgage, no landlord, no bank breathing down my neck. The furniture was old but solid. I'd built most of it myself. Civil engineers know how to make things last. My entire life's philosophy, really. Make things last. Build foundations that don't crack. Calculate load-bearing capacity. Anticipate stress points. I'd applied that same methodology to raising 2 kids alone after their mother decided family life wasn't fulfilling her potential. I was 39 when she left. Evan was 12. Lisa was 9. She took nothing but her clothes and her ambitions, relocating to Portland to find herself in the tech startup scene. The kids stayed with me. I made that happen. Fought for it, actually, because she'd been willing to take them just to spite me. But I convinced her, promised her freedom, promised no child support demands, promised I'd never badmouth her to the kids. I kept all those promises. I worked 60-hour weeks at Morrison & Associates, a structural engineering firm specializing in commercial infrastructure. Bridges, parking garages, hospital expansions. Honest work. Good work. The kind of work where if you mess up, so you don't mess up. I coached Evan's Little League team. I attended every single one of Lisa's piano recitals, even the one where she forgot the entire second movement and cried on stage. I helped with homework, cooked dinners, signed permission slips, drove carpool, stayed up late building dioramas of missions and volcanoes and solar systems. I was present. Then Morrison decided they needed a fall guy. The Grandview parking structure. 6 levels, downtown district, attached to a luxury hotel. We'd specified certain rebar grades in the original plans. The contractor swapped them out for cheaper alternatives without authorization. I caught it during an inspection, flagged it immediately, filed reports with the project manager and the client. 3 months later, a section of the 4th level showed stress cracks. Suddenly, I was the problem. My inadequate oversight, my failure to supervise. Never mind my documentation. Never mind my emails. Never mind the fact that I'd done everything by the book. They fired me quietly, gave me 18 months of severance and a glowing recommendation letter, provided I signed an NDA and agreed not to pursue legal action. I was 52 years old. Evan was in college. Lisa was finishing high school. Both of them needed money: tuition, rent, expenses, the endless consumption of young adulthood. I cashed out my 401k, paid penalties, kept them afloat. I found contract work, freelance consulting, inspection gigs. I made it work, barely, living lean in this apartment, driving a 15-year-old Honda, shopping at discount grocery stores. The kids graduated. Evan got his business degree. Lisa went into marketing. They both moved to better cities, took jobs with impressive titles, started posting photos on social media of rooftop bars and weekend trips to wine country. They called less and less. I told myself that was natural. That's what happens. Kids grow up. They build their own lives. You raise them to leave, not to stay. But somewhere in there, the narrative shifted. I started hearing things. Little comments, offhand remarks during the rare phone calls. Dad's fine. He's always been kind of a loner anyway. Yeah, he lives pretty simply. I think he likes it. Oh, he's not really a nice restaurant kind of person. They were rewriting history, reframing my sacrifices as personality quirks, my circumstances as preferences, and now this wedding. I looked at the invitation again. September 14th, the Riverside Estate. Cocktail hour at 5, ceremony at 6. High-class event, Lisa had said. I smiled. Here's what most people don't understand about civil engineers. We're professional paranoids. We spend our careers imagining worst-case scenarios: bridge collapse, foundation failure, structural instability under maximum load. We document everything. We calculate risks. We plan for contingencies. So when your own children start acting like you're an embarrassment, you notice. When they stop calling unless they need money, you notice. When they introduce you to their friends with apologetic smiles and quick subject changes, you notice. I'd been noticing for 3 years. I started documenting 6 months ago. It began with a phone call from Evan. This was back in March, unseasonably warm Tuesday. He called mid-afternoon, which was unusual. Evan didn't call during work hours. Dad, hey, got a minute? Sure, what's up? So, I'm buying a condo. Really great place, downtown, close to the office. There's just one thing. The mortgage application requires some additional financial documentation. Family assets, that kind of thing. Okay. Would you be willing to sign some paperwork? Just verification that you own your property outright. It helps with the overall financial picture. You wouldn't be liable for anything. Just a formality. Red flag. Massive, waving, impossible to ignore red flag. What exactly would I be signing? Just an affidavit. Proof of asset ownership. My mortgage broker said it's standard for family-backed applications. Family-backed? Evan, I'm not co-signing anything. Jesus, Dad, I didn't ask you to co-sign. I just need documentation. You know what, forget it. I'll figure it out myself, like always. He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, and thought, no legitimate mortgage broker requires a parent's property documentation unless that property is being used as collateral. I called my own lawyer. Guy named Bernard Litchfield, 71 years old, looked like Wilford Brimley, sharp as broken glass. He'd handled my severance negotiation with Morrison. Bernard, hypothetical question. If someone wanted to fraudulently claim partial ownership of my property, what would they need? Fraudulently? Arthur, what's going on? Humour me. He sighed. They'd need forged documentation, deed transfers, quitclaim forms, notarized signatures. Alternatively, if they could establish financial contribution to the property, proof they'd paid mortgage, taxes, maintenance, they might argue implied ownership. But that's a tough case. Why? My son just asked me to sign papers verifying my property ownership for his mortgage application. Long pause. Don't sign anything. Wasn't planning to. Arthur, I mean it. Don't sign, don't verbally agree, don't even acknowledge the request. If he's asking, he's already explored the angles. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed thinking about Evan at 12 years old, skinny kid with glasses, crying because he struck out in the championship game. I'd taken him for ice cream, told him failure was just data, information you use to improve. He'd looked up at me with those wet eyes and said, "You always know what to say, Dad." When did that kid become this person? 2 weeks later, Lisa called. "Dad, Evan told me you're being difficult about his condo purchase." "I'm not being difficult. I declined to sign documents I don't understand for a transaction I'm not involved in." "He's your son. He needed help." Then he should have been honest about what he was asking. "You know what your problem is? You're paranoid. You think everyone's out to get you. Ever since you lost your job." "I didn't lose my job. I was scapegoated." "That's literally the same thing, Dad. You messed up, they let you go, you've been bitter ever since." "I documented everything. I followed protocol." "Sure you did. Look, Evan and I are trying to build lives, real lives. We'd appreciate some support instead of constant suspicion." "Lisa, forget it, I have a meeting." She hung up too. I sat in my kitchen, the afternoon light slanting through the window, illuminating dust particles in the air. For a moment I felt untethered, like a support beam that had been declared non-essential and removed. Then I got angry. Not hot anger. Cold. Calculated. The kind that builds slowly, setting like concrete. I went to my filing cabinet, pulled out my property deed, made 3 copies. I put the original in my safety deposit box at the bank. I put 1 copy in Bernard's office safe. I put the 3rd copy in a sealed envelope addressed to myself, sent certified mail, which I didn't open when it arrived, creating a time-stamped, verifiable record of my documentation. Then, I did something I hadn't done in years. I made a phone call to an old colleague, someone who'd escaped Morrison before the Grandview debacle, someone who'd landed at a better firm, someone who owed me. Michael Reese answered on the 2nd ring. "Arthur Hale. Hell, must be 5 years. 6. How's life at Kaufman Industrial?" "Can't complain. Made partner last year. What can I do for you?" "Remember when you were coming up, working on the Riverside Hospital expansion? Remember who signed off on your structural calculations when your supervisor was too drunk to review them?" Silence. Then, "I remember. That signature put my license on the line. Your career would have ended before it started if those calculations were wrong." "They weren't wrong." "No, they weren't, because I checked them thoroughly before I signed. Spent my own weekend making sure." "You got the promotion. You moved up. I'm calling in that debt." "Name it." "I need surveillance, financial records, background information. I need to know if my kids are planning something." "Jesus, Arthur. Can you do it or not?" Long pause. "Yeah, I can do it. Give me 2 weeks." Michael delivered 3 weeks before the wedding. He met me at a coffee shop near the river, one of those aggressively trendy places where everything costs $7 and tastes like disappointment. He slid a manila envelope across the table. "You're not going to like this." I opened it. Inside, financial records, property searches, email correspondence obtained through less than legal means that I decided not to ask about. The first document was a quitclaim deed, my signature at the bottom, dated 6 months ago, transferring 25% ownership of my apartment to Evan Alexander Hale and Lisa Marie Hale. My signature? Perfect. Because they had years of birthday cards, Christmas cards, every document I'd ever signed for them. "They filed it with the county," Michael said quietly. "It's registered. Legally, they own a 1/4 share of your property." I stared at the paper. My hands didn't shake. I'd engineered my emotions the same way I engineered buildings, with redundant supports and calculated load distribution. "Keep reading," Michael said. "Next document. Loan application, Evan's condo. Purchase price, $1.2 million. Down payment, $300,000. Source of funds, family asset leverage and inheritance advance. They'd used my property, our property now, according to fraudulent documentation, as partial collateral. I turned to the next page, email chains, between Evan and Lisa. Evan, Dad's place is worth at least $400K in this market. Once we have legal claim, we can force a sale or buyout. Lisa, he'll fight it. Evan, let him. He can't afford a lawyer. He's been barely scraping by for years. Lisa, what if he contests the signature? Evan, he signed 1,000 things for us over the years. Good luck proving which signature is real. Besides, he's old and tired. He'll fold. I looked up at Michael. He was watching me carefully, probably worried I'd have a heart attack right there in the artisanal coffee shop. There's more, he said. The final document was the wedding plan. Line item budget, the Riverside estate, $40,000. Catering, $35,000. Photography, $8,000. Band, $12,000. Total budget, $263,000. Funding sources, Evan's savings, $20,000. Bride's family contribution, $100,000. Property advance, $143,000. They'd borrowed against my apartment, against the forged ownership claim. They were financing this wedding with money that didn't exist, money backed by property they didn't legally own, money they'd promised to repay from the eventual estate settlement. They're that confident, I said. Looks like it. I closed the envelope. Send me the full digital files. Encrypted. And Michael? We're even now. You don't owe me anything, but I'll owe you after this. He shook his head. After this, we're even and then some. What are you going to do? I'm going to the wedding. Arthur. I'm going to the wedding, I repeated. Wouldn't miss it for the world. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing. First, I visited Bernard, showed him everything. He read it all twice, then looked at me over his reading glasses. This is fraud. Multiple counts. You could have them arrested. I could. But then it's a legal battle. Criminal charges, court dates. Their lawyers will claim it was a misunderstanding, a mistake. They'll cry and say they misunderstood what I agreed to. Even if they're convicted, they'll get probation, community service, plea deals. And I'll be the villain father who sent his kids to jail. So what do you want? I want them to understand what they tried to take. I want them to feel it. I want consequences that last. Bernard leaned back in his chair. You want revenge. I want justice. Arthur, those aren't always the same thing. They are this time. He was quiet for a moment. Then, what do you need from me? Paperwork, lots of it, and complete deniability if this goes wrong. You're not going to do anything illegal, are you? Define illegal. Arthur. Everything I do will be technically legal. Morally questionable, maybe. But legal. He sighed. I'm too old for this. You're 71. You've got good years left. Tell that to my knees. Fine. What's the plan? I told him. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he started laughing, a wheezing sound like a rusty gate. You magnificent bastard. Is that a yes? That's a hell yes. When's this wedding? September 14th. Better get to work then. The Riverside estate was exactly the kind of place my kids thought they belonged. 20-acre grounds, manor house built in 1890, restored with obscene amounts of money, marketed to people who wanted to pretend they were aristocracy for a weekend. I drove past it 3 times, studying the layout. Civil engineers noticed things. Load-bearing walls, traffic flow patterns, service entrances, emergency exits. I noticed the security was minimal. Couple of cameras at the main gate, no roaming guards. They relied on the gate itself and the price tag to keep out undesirables. I called the estate office. Riverside Estate, this is Jennifer. How can I help you? Hi, Jennifer. My name is Arthur Hale. My son Evan is getting married at your venue on September 14th. Oh, wonderful. Congratulations. What can I do for you? I wanted to surprise my son by upgrading a few elements of the reception. Is that possible? Absolutely. We love when family members want to add special touches. What did you have in mind? I'd like to add a premium bar package and upgrade the transportation service. I'll handle the costs directly. That's so generous. Let me pull up the event. Okay, here we are. Hale Vandergriff Wedding. Beautiful ceremony setup. For the bar upgrade, we have several options. She walked me through pricing. I agreed to everything, paid with a credit card, got confirmation numbers. And the transportation, she asked. I'd like to arrange a special arrival for myself. Is there a preferred service you work with? We partner with Elite Executive Transportation. They handle most of our high-profile events. Should I give you their number? Please. I called Elite next. Spoke to a coordinator named Marcus. I need a Rolls-Royce Ghost, September 14th. Pick up at 2 p.m., drop off at the Riverside Estate at 4:45. I'll need the car to wait until the ceremony ends, then return me home. The Ghost is our premium vehicle, sir. For that date, with wait time, we're looking at $4,000. Not a problem. I'll also need 2 security escorts. Pause. Security escorts? Professional, discreet, the kind who look good in suits and know how to stand at attention without looking threatening. Theatre, basically. We don't typically arrange security. But you could make calls, couldn't you, for an additional fee? Another pause. For an additional $1,000, I can arrange 2 professionals from a security firm we've worked with. They'll be in executive protection mode, suits, earpieces, the works. They won't actually do anything beyond look impressive. Perfect. Send me the contract. Sir, can I ask what this is for? You can ask. He laughed. Fair enough. You'll have the contract within the hour. The money hurt. $5,000 total, plus Bernard's fees, plus the paper trail I was establishing. I was burning through savings I'd hoarded for years. But I thought about that email. He's old and tired. He'll fold, worth every penny. I spent the week before the wedding shopping. Not at discount stores this time. I went to a proper men's store, the kind with attentive staff and 3-way mirrors. The salesman's name was Peter, 60-something, impeccably dressed. I need a suit, I told him. For what occasion? My son's wedding. His face brightened. Wonderful. Let's find something appropriate. What's your budget? No budget. I want the best suit you have that'll fit me properly. He blinked. Sir, our top-tier suits start at $3,000. I didn't stutter. 2 hours later, I walked out with a charcoal grey suit that fit like it had been engineered specifically for my frame. Italian wool, hand-stitched, the kind of suit that made you stand differently. I added a silk tie, Italian leather shoes, a Swiss watch I'd been eyeing for a decade. Total damage, $8,000. I looked at myself in the mirror at home. I looked like the man I used to be. The man before Morrison. The man before the sacrifices and the lean years and the slow erosion of dignity. I looked like someone you didn't dismiss. The morning of the wedding, I got my hair cut. Professional trim, the works. Then I went home and dressed slowly, methodically, like I was suiting up for something more important than a wedding. Because I was. At 2 p.m. exactly, the Rolls-Royce Ghost pulled up outside my apartment building. Midnight blue, chrome gleaming, the kind of car that made people stop and stare. The 2 security escorts stepped out first, both 6'+", both in black suits with earpieces, both moving with that casual alertness that suggested professional training. One of them opened the rear door. Mr. Hale. I climbed in. The interior smelled like leather and money. Riverside Estate, I said. Let's not rush. We drove through the city, through the suburbs, into the countryside where estates like Riverside existed. I watched the world slide past tinted windows, and thought about Evan at 18, heading off to college, hugging me goodbye. You're the best, Dad. I couldn't have done any of this without you. When had that gratitude curdled into contempt? We arrived at 4:45. The gate guard saw the Rolls-Royce, saw the security detail, waved us through without question. We pulled up to the main entrance just as early guests were arriving. People in expensive dresses and designer suits, the kind of people who summered in the Hamptons and wintered in Aspen. The security escort stepped out first. They opened my door in unison. I emerged, and I saw my son standing near the entrance, greeting guests. He saw the car, saw the security, saw me. His face went white. I smiled, walked toward him, my shoes crunching on the gravel drive. "Hello, Evan." He tried to speak. Nothing came out. He actually swayed, grabbed onto his best man's shoulder for support. "Dad?" he finally managed. What are you—" "You invited me. I'm here. Beautiful venue." Must have cost a fortune. People were staring now, whispers rippling through the assembled guests. Lisa appeared, probably alerted by the commotion. She saw me and froze. "Hey, sweetheart," I said pleasantly. "You look lovely. Is that Vera Wang?" She couldn't answer. I turned back to Evan. "So where should I sit? Family section, I assume. Oh, and I took the liberty of upgrading the bar package. Open premium all night. My gift to you both. Consider it a token of appreciation for all you've done for me." His mouth moved. No sound. "See you inside," I said, and walked past him into the estate. Behind me I heard Lisa hiss, "What the hell is he doing here in a Rolls-Royce?" I smiled. The Riverside Estate's interior matched its exterior pretensions. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, oil paintings of people who probably never existed, the kind of place where even the air felt expensive. I followed the flow of guests into the ceremony space, a vast room with French doors opening onto gardens, chairs arranged in neat rows, flowers everywhere. The setup alone probably cost $15,000. My money, technically. A coordinator approached me, clipboard in hand, professional smile. "Sir, are you with the bride or groom?" "Groom. I'm his father." Her smile flickered. Just a microsecond of confusion. She'd clearly been briefed that the groom's father was some sad figure in a thrift store suit, not the man currently wearing $3,000 of Italian tailoring. "Oh, Mr. Hale, we have you in Section 3, Row 4. "Section 3? The extended family section." I looked at where she was pointing. Back corner, partially blocked view. The seats you put people when you're obligated to invite them but hope they don't actually come. "I think there's been a mistake," I said quietly. "Sir?" "I'm the father of the groom. Immediate family, that's front row." Let me check my list." "Check whatever you want. I'll be in the front row. Right side. Aisle seat." I walked away before she could respond, heading straight for the front section. There was a reserved sign on the second chair. I picked it up, handed it to a passing waiter, sat down. The coordinator hurried over. "Sir, that seat is reserved for Arthur Hale, father of the groom." That'd be me. "But the family specifically arranged—" "I'm family. Specifically, I'm the parent, the one who raised him, the one who paid for his education, the one whose signature appears on 20 years of school forms, and medical documents, and legal papers." I smiled pleasantly. "I'll be sitting here." She opened her mouth, closed it, walked away quickly. Around me, guests were settling in. I recognized a few faces from photos my kids had posted over the years. Young professionals, finance types, marketing executives, the kind of people who networked at weddings and measured success in LinkedIn connections. An older couple sat down next to me. The man nodded politely. "Beautiful venue. Isn't it? I'm Arthur, father of the groom." "Robert Vandergriff, bride's father." We shook hands. His grip was firm, confident, the grip of a man who'd succeeded and knew it. "Your son must be very successful," Robert said. This is quite the production. He's done well for himself. Business development, corporate partnerships, impressive career trajectory. And you, what line of work? Civil engineering, structural design mostly. I'm semi-retired now. Ah, the profession that keeps our bridges from falling down. Noble work. Someone has to care about load-bearing capacity. He chuckled. Too few people do these days. Everyone wants flash, nobody wants foundation. I liked Robert Vandergriff immediately, which made what was coming more complicated. The ceremony began at 6 exactly. Music swelled. Bridesmaids processed down the aisle in coordinated dresses. Groomsmen followed, including Evan's best man, a slick-looking guy who probably sold crypto. Then Evan appeared. He looked good. I had to give him that. Tailored tuxedo, hair styled perfectly, face composed into an expression of solemn joy. He walked down the aisle with his mother. Yes, his mother, flown in for the occasion, the woman who'd abandoned us 26 years ago and now played happy family for photographs. She was older, grayer, but still carried that restless energy that had made living with her exhausting. Evan saw me sitting in the front row. His step faltered. His mother noticed, whispered something. He recovered, kept walking. When he reached the altar, he looked back. Our eyes met. I smiled. The bride appeared. Vanessa Vandergriff, 27, beautiful in that carefully constructed way that required hours of preparation and thousands in beauty products. Her dress was stunning. Her smile was radiant. She looked like a woman marrying into exactly the life she'd planned. The ceremony proceeded. Traditional vows, reading from Corinthians, the officiant talking about love and commitment and partnership with the kind of conviction that suggested he performed 3 of these every weekend and had the speech memorized. I listened to Evan promise to honor and cherish, to be faithful and true, to stand by Vanessa through whatever life brought. I thought about promises I'd made, to stay, to provide, to sacrifice. Promises I'd kept. They exchanged rings. They kissed. Everyone applauded. Ladies and gentlemen, the officiant announced, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Evan Hale. More applause. The couple processed back down the aisle, beaming, stopping for hugs and congratulations. When they reached my row, Evan tried to walk past without acknowledging me. I stood up, stepped into the aisle. Congratulations, son. He had to stop. Everyone was watching. Social convention trapped him like steel cables. Thanks, Dad. His voice was tight. Vanessa, you look beautiful. Welcome to the family. She smiled, a polite reflex. Thank you, Mr. Hale. Please, call me Arthur. We're family now. I turned back to Evan. We should talk later. About family matters, property issues, legal documentation. I'm sure you understand. His face lost color. Enjoy your reception, I said, and stepped aside. They continued down the aisle. Behind them, Lisa appeared, her partner Brandon beside her. She looked at me with pure fury. I winked. Cocktail hour was held on the veranda overlooking the gardens. The weather had cooperated perfectly. Warm September evening, golden light, gentle breeze. Waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres that probably cost $30 per bite. I took a glass of champagne, positioned myself near the bar where I could observe. The bride's family dominated one side of the veranda. Old money, comfortable confidence, the ease of people who'd never questioned their place in the world. The groom's side was smaller, more anxious, working harder to appear like they belonged. My kids were surrounded by well-wishers. Evan kept glancing my direction, then away, like I was a grenade with an uncertain timer. Mr. Hale? I turned. A young woman, late 20s, holding a camera with a professional lens. I'm Ashley, the wedding photographer. Could I get some family photos before dinner? Of course. She led me toward a designated photo area near a stone fountain. Evan and Vanessa were already there, along with Vanessa's parents and siblings. "Let's do immediate family first," Ashley said brightly. "Bride and groom in the center, parents beside them." Everyone arranged themselves. I stood next to Evan. He was rigid, jaw clenched. "Everyone smile," Ashley chirped. Click, click, click. "Beautiful. Now let's do groom's family. Just Evan with his parents and sister." My ex-wife positioned herself on Evan's other side. Lisa moved in. The four of them, nuclear family minus me. "Oh," Ashley said, "I meant with—" "This is his family," Lisa interrupted. "This is fine. But Mr. Hale is extended family. We'll do those photos later." I watched my daughter erase me in real time. Ashley looked at me helplessly. I shrugged. Whatever makes everyone comfortable. They took their photos, the happy family, the lie. Dinner was announced. We moved into the banquet hall, another architectural marvel, all exposed beams and candlelight and tables set with china that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. I found my seat. Table 7. Not the family table, not even close. I was seated with distant cousins and plus ones who didn't know each other, the overflow table for people who had to be invited but didn't matter. The woman next to me introduced herself as someone's aunt from New Hampshire. "How do you know the happy couple?" "I'm Evan's father." She blinked. "Oh, I thought, never mind." "How wonderful." What had she thought? What had they been told? Dinner service began. The meal was exquisite. Braised short ribs, roasted vegetables, some kind of reduction sauce that probably had a French name. The bar I'd upgraded was flowing freely. People were laughing, toasting, celebrating. At the head table, Evan sat with Vanessa, both sets of parents beside them. My ex-wife was there. I was at table 7. The erasure was complete. But I waited. Between the main course and dessert, the DJ announced speeches. Best man first, the crypto guy, making jokes about Evan's dating history and how Vanessa locked him down. Maid of honor next, Vanessa's sister, telling stories about their childhood and welcoming Evan into their family. Then the DJ said, "And now a few words from the bride's father, Robert Vandergriff." Robert stood, glass in hand. He was a natural speaker, comfortable in front of crowds. When Vanessa first told me about Evan, I was skeptical. My daughter has always had high standards. But then I met this young man, and I understood. Evan is ambitious, driven, intelligent. He comes from good stock. His mother raised him well. His mother. Not parents, not family. His mother. I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Evan has built an impressive career," Robert continued. "He's provided a wonderful future for my daughter, and today we welcome him into our family with open arms, to Evan and Vanessa." "To Evan and Vanessa," everyone echoed. People drank, applauded. No mention of me, not even a generic acknowledgement of the groom's side. The DJ started to announce the first dance. I stood up. "Excuse me," I called out. The DJ stopped. Everyone turned. "I'd like to say a few words." Evan's face went from white to red. Lisa stood up from her table. "Dad, we didn't—" "I know, sweetheart. You didn't plan on it, but since Robert spoke, it seems only fair that someone from the groom's father's side says something too." I walked toward the front of the room. People parted. I took a position near the head table, where everyone could see me. "I'm Arthur Hale, Evan's father." Silence. Uncomfortable, thick silence. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but listening to these beautiful tributes, I realized something important needs to be said, something about family, about sacrifice, about what we owe each other. Evan stood up. "Dad, please." "Sit down, son. I'll be brief." He sat. He had no choice. Everyone was watching. Evan was 12 when his mother left. Lisa was 9. I became a single father overnight. Anyone here know what that's like? Working full-time, raising 2 kids alone, trying to be mother and father both? Scattered murmurs. Robert Vandergriff was frowning. I worked 60-hour weeks as a civil engineer. Came home, cooked dinner, helped with homework, drove to soccer practice and piano recitals. I sacrificed my social life, my dating life, any chance at personal happiness. Because my kids needed stability. Dad, Lisa's voice warning. I put both kids through college, paid every tuition bill, every dorm fee, every textbook cost. Cashed out my retirement fund to do it. You know why? Because I loved them. Because that's what parents do. We sacrifice. The room was silent now. People weren't sure where this was going. And then something interesting happened. My kids grew up, got successful, started building impressive lives, and somewhere along the way, I became an embarrassment. The old man in the cheap apartment, the guy who didn't fit at their fancy parties, the parent who should stay quietly in the background. That's not... Evan started. Let me finish. 6 months ago, my son asked me to sign some paperwork. Said it was for his mortgage application, routine verification. I declined. You know why I declined? No one answered. Because that paperwork was a quitclaim deed, a forged document transferring 25% ownership of my property to my children. They filed it with the county. They used my home as collateral for loans. Gasps now, real shock rippling through the crowd. Robert Vandergriff stood up. What is this? This, I said, pulling papers from my jacket pocket, is fraud, multiple counts. I have the documentation right here. Forged signatures, fraudulent deed transfers. Evan's face was the color of ash. You're lying. You're insane. Am I? I unfolded the papers, held them up. Here's the quitclaim deed with my supposedly authentic signature. Here's the email chain between you and Lisa discussing how to force me out of my own home. Here's the loan documentation showing how you financed this wedding, this beautiful, expensive wedding, with money borrowed against property you don't own. Vanessa turned to Evan. What is he talking about? He's making it up. I have copies for anyone who wants to see them, I said calmly. The county records office has the filed deed. The mortgage company has the loan application. Everything is documented. Lisa lunged toward me. You bastard! You show up here dressed like you're somebody and humiliate us. Humiliate you? Sweetheart, I'm simply telling the truth. You tried to steal my property. You committed fraud. We didn't... Evan's voice cracked. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to everyone. Explain how you forged my signature. Explain the emails about forcing a sale. Explain how you told Lisa I was too old and tired to fight back. Robert Vandergriff looked like he'd been hit with a brick. Evan, is this true? Mr. Vandergriff, I can explain. Is it true? Evan couldn't answer. Vanessa stood up, her face twisted with rage and humiliation. You lied to me. You told me your father was supportive. You told me he was helping finance our future. He was supposed to... Her voice rose. We borrowed money based on inheriting his property. Oh my God, do you know what this means? My parents co-signed those loans. Robert's face went from shock to fury. You involved us in fraud? It wasn't fraud. He would have given it to us eventually. Would have, I said quietly. Or you were planning to take it. The room erupted, guests talking, shouting questions, the photographer still snapping pictures because she didn't know what else to do. The DJ stood frozen by his equipment. I folded the papers, put them back in my pocket. I just wanted everyone to understand what kind of family we really are, I said. What kind of man Evan really is. The kind who steals from his father. The kind who commits fraud. The kind who builds his life on lies. I turned to Robert. Mr. Vandergriff, I apologize. You seem like a decent man. You didn't deserve to be dragged into this. He just stared at me, speechless. I looked at Evan. You said I'd fold. You said I was old and tired. You were wrong. I walked toward the exit. Behind me, chaos. Vanessa crying, Robert shouting, Lisa screaming something about lawyers. My security escorts fell in beside me as I reached the door. We walked out into the night air, toward the waiting Rolls-Royce. The drive home was silent. The security escorts didn't ask questions. They'd been paid not to. I sat in the back of the Rolls-Royce watching the countryside slide past, feeling nothing. That's not true. I felt something, just not what I expected, not satisfaction, not triumph, just a hollow kind of completion, like finishing a building you never wanted to construct. My phone started ringing at 7:30. Evan. I declined. Lisa. Declined. My ex-wife, calling from a number I didn't have saved. Declined. Text messages poured in. Evan. Dad, please, we need to talk. This is insane. Lisa. You destroyed my brother's wedding, you selfish bastard. Numbers I didn't recognize. This is Robert Vandergrift's attorney. We need to speak immediately. I turned the phone off. The Rolls-Royce pulled up to my apartment building at 8:15. The security escorts opened my door. Thank you, gentlemen, I said. Sir. The taller one nodded. For what it's worth, that took balls. I went inside, took the elevator to the 3rd floor, unlocked my apartment door. Home. My home. The place I'd defended. I took off the expensive suit, hung it carefully in the closet, took off the silk tie, the Italian shoes, the Swiss watch. I stood in my boxer shorts and t-shirt in my small bedroom and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked old, tired, exactly like they'd described me. I poured myself a bourbon, cheap stuff, the bottle I'd had for 3 years, and sat in my kitchen chair. My phone was off, but I could imagine the chaos I'd left behind. The wedding in ruins, guests scandalized, Robert Vandergrift realizing his daughter had married into fraud, Vanessa questioning everything. The whole beautiful facade collapsed like a structure built without proper support. I'd done that. Me. There was a knock on my door at 9 p.m. I looked through the peephole. Bernard Litchfield, my lawyer, looking grim. I opened the door. You work late. Got a call from Robert Vandergrift's attorney. Apparently there was an incident at a wedding. Was there? Arthur, what did you do? I told the truth, in front of everyone, at the exact moment when it would cause maximum impact. Bernard came inside, sat down heavily in my worn armchair. They're lawyering up, both kids, the Vandergrift family. This is going to get messy. Let it. They'll claim you defamed them, that you caused emotional distress, that you... I have documentation, Bernard. Everything I said was true. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. In theory, but you humiliated them publicly. At a wedding. There are witnesses, photographs, probably video. They'll paint you as vindictive, unstable, a father who couldn't accept his children's success. Am I vindictive? He looked at me for a long moment. Yeah, you are. Justified, but vindictive. Good. Arthur. They tried to steal my property. They committed fraud. What did you expect me to do? Smile and accept it? No. But you could have handled this quietly. Press charges. Let the legal system work. The legal system? I laughed bitter. The same system that let Morrison scapegoat me. The same system that would have given my kids probation and community service. That system? Bernard sighed. What do you want to happen now? I want them to understand consequences. Real consequences, not legal slaps on the wrist. I want them to feel what they tried to do to me. Revenge. Justice. Still not the same thing. Tonight they are. We sat in silence. Finally, Bernard stood up. I'll start preparing a defense for the inevitable lawsuits. You should expect legal action within the week. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, possibly interference with contractual relations, depending on how the Vandergrift family's loans shake out. Let them come. Arthur, you could lose everything defending yourself. I already lost everything that mattered. Now I'm just making sure they lose too. He left. I sat alone in my kitchen, bourbon glass empty, feeling the weight of what I'd done settle into my bones. My phone was still off. I turned it on. 63 missed calls, 147 text messages, voicemails stacking up. One message caught my eye, from a number I didn't recognize, sent at 8:45. Mr. Hale, this is Michael Reese. Just saw some interesting photos circulating from a wedding tonight. Well played. If you need anything else, call me. You've got bigger balls than anyone I know. M. I smiled despite myself. Then I opened my laptop and started checking news. Social media. The wedding hashtag Evan and Vanessa had promoted. It was everywhere. And as Hale Vandergriff, wedding was trending locally. People had posted photos, videos. Someone had recorded my entire speech on their phone. It was already on YouTube with 40,000 views. Comments flooded in. Holy shit, did the dad just expose them for fraud at their own wedding? This is the most savage thing I've ever seen. Imagine stealing from your own father, then inviting him to watch you spend his money. That man is a legend, plot twist of the century. Someone had created a Reddit thread. It had 8,000 upvotes and counting. My revenge had gone viral. I closed the laptop, turned off my phone again, and went to bed. I didn't sleep. The lawsuit arrived 6 days later, delivered by a process server who looked apologetic. 3 separate actions. Evan filing for defamation and emotional distress, Lisa joining him. The Vandergriff family suing for interference with contractual relations and fraud by misrepresentation. Total damages sought, $2.7 million. I read through the documents in Bernard's office. He sat across from me, reading glasses perched on his nose. They're claiming you knowingly made false statements to destroy Evan's reputation and marriage, that you fabricated documents, that you acted with malicious intent. I didn't fabricate anything. I know, but we'll need to prove that, which means discovery, depositions, possibly trial. Arthur, this will take years and cost you everything you have. What are my options? Settle, apologize publicly, retract your statements. They'd probably accept $50,000 and a formal apology. No. Arthur, no, I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. I'm not paying them to pretend their fraud didn't happen. Bernard leaned back. Then we fight. But I need you to understand what that means. Your life becomes this lawsuit. Every asset you have goes toward legal fees. Discovery will drag up every detail of your relationship with your kids, your ex-wife, your employment history. They'll try to paint you as an unstable failure who couldn't accept his children's success. Let them try. The trial would be public, more publicity, more viral videos, more. Good, let everyone see what they did. He studied me. You really want to destroy them? I want them to face consequences. For once in their entitled lives, I want them to face actual consequences. Even if it destroys you too. I thought about that. About my apartment, my savings, the quiet life I'd built from the wreckage of corporate scapegoating and single parenthood. I've already been destroyed, Bernard. I'm just burning down the ruins to make sure nothing grows back wrong. He sighed, pulled out a legal pad. Okay, let's build a defense. We spent 3 hours going through everything, the forged deed, the email chains Michael had obtained, the loan documents, the timeline of events, every piece of evidence that proved I'd told the truth. This is solid, Bernard admitted. If we can authenticate the emails and prove the deed forgery, you've got a complete defense. They can't win a defamation suit if everything you said was true. What about the Vandergriff lawsuit? Trickier. They're claiming you knowingly concealed information that led them to co-sign fraudulent loans. But if we can show you had no knowledge of their involvement until the wedding itself, that defense falls apart. I didn't know. I found out about the fraud 3 weeks before the wedding. Can we prove that? Michael Reese provided the documentation on August 25th. I can prove when I received it. Good. We'll use that. He made notes. This is going to get ugly, Arthur. It's already ugly. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. Over the next 2 weeks, my life became a legal battleground. Depositions. Both sides taking statements. I sat across from Evan's attorney. a sharp woman in her 40s, who treated me like a hostile witness from the first question. "Mr. Hale, you claim your son forged your signature on a quitclaim deed." "I don't claim it. He did it." "How can you be certain?" "Because I never signed it, because I never agreed to transfer any portion of my property." "But you've signed many documents for your children over the years. School forms, medical releases, birthday cards. Isn't it possible you signed this deed and simply forgot?" "No." "You're 68 years old." 58. 58. Isn't it possible your memory isn't perfect?" "My memory is fine. I remember every sacrifice I made for those kids, every dollar I spent, every promise I kept. I remember it all very clearly." "You sound angry, Mr. Hale." "I am angry. My children committed fraud. They tried to steal my property. You're damn right I'm angry." "Angry enough to fabricate evidence?" "I didn't fabricate anything. Every document I presented is real." "Real, all really obtained through illegal surveillance and hacking." I said nothing. Bernard had warned me about this. "Mr. Hale, how did you obtain email correspondence between your children?" "I had help from someone with access to their communications." "Illegal access?" "I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak to the legality." "But you knowingly used potentially illegally obtained evidence to humiliate your son at his wedding." "I used the truth. However, I obtained it." She smiled, shark-like. "Thank you, Mr. Hale. No further questions." Lisa's deposition was worse. She cried throughout, dabbing her eyes with tissues, talking about how I'd always been distant, cold, unavailable emotionally. "He resented us for existing," she told her attorney. "After Mum left, he blamed us. We were burdens he had to carry. He never let us forget it. Lies, complete lies. But she sold them well. Evan's deposition painted me as mentally unstable, possibly suffering from dementia or paranoia. "He's been getting worse for years," Evan said, accusing us of things, imagining slights, becoming increasingly isolated. "We've been worried about him. That's why we tried to establish legal connection to his property. We were concerned he'd hurt himself or others." The attorney nodded sympathetically. "So your actions were motivated by concern for your father's well-being?" "Exactly. We were trying to protect him, and he responded with this bizarre public attack." I watched the deposition video in Bernard's office, feeling my jaw clench tighter with every word. "They're good," Bernard said. "Better than I expected. They're building a narrative where they're concerned children, and you're an unstable parent who's lost touch with reality. It's bullshit. Of course it's bullshit, but it's convincing bullshit. Judges and juries love worried children trying to help their aging parents. It plays into every cultural narrative about filial duty and elder care. So we're losing? We're not winning yet, but we will. Trust me." The counter-evidence came through in October. Michael Reese had been thorough. More than thorough. He'd documented everything. Timestamps on the forged deed showing it was filed while I was provably in a different location. Bank records showing the kids' financial desperation. Credit card statements showing luxury spending even as they claimed poverty. Social media posts bragging about their lifestyle while claiming they needed to help their father. Bernard assembled it all into a devastating counter-narrative. They weren't worried children, he'd argue. They were greedy adults who saw their father's property as an asset to exploit. Every action they took was calculated to position themselves for financial gain. Discovery also revealed something beautiful. Robert Vandergriff had turned on Evan. The Vandergriff family withdrew from the joint lawsuit, instead filing their own action against Evan for fraud and misrepresentation. Robert had hired investigators who'd uncovered more financial misdeeds, inflated income claims, misrepresented assets, lies about inheritance expectations. Vanessa filed for annulment in November. The marriage lasted 73 days. I read about it online, sitting in my apartment, and felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just emptiness. The viral attention continued. I became a minor internet celebrity. Wedding revenge dad, they called me. People recognized me in grocery stores, at the bank, pumping gas. Some were supportive. Good for you, standing up for yourself. Others were hostile. You ruined your son's wedding. What kind of monster does that? I stopped going out except when necessary. My apartment became my fortress. The place I'd defended had become my prison. Lisa stopped communicating entirely. Evan sent one email in early December. Dad, I don't know what you want from us. Yes, we made mistakes. Yes, we were stupid and greedy. But you've destroyed our lives. Vanessa left me. I lost my job because the company didn't want the publicity. Lisa's firm put her on indefinite leave. We're broke. We're unemployable. We're social pariahs. Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted? I read it 3 times. Was I happy? No. Was this what I wanted? I didn't know anymore. The trial began in February. Civil court, Judge Maria Santos presiding. A woman in her 60s with iron grey hair and a reputation for not tolerating nonsense. Day 1. Jury selection. Bernard worked methodically, looking for people who understood family complexity, who'd experienced betrayal, who wouldn't automatically side with worried children. We ended up with 7 women, 5 men. Ages ranging from 28 to 64. Mix of backgrounds, professions, life experiences. It's a good jury, Bernard whispered. No one too sympathetic to entitled kids. Opening statements. Evan's attorney, the shark woman whose name was Patricia Vance, went first. This is a case about a father who couldn't accept his children's success. Arthur Hale spent years as a struggling single parent. He sacrificed, yes. He provided, yes. But he also kept score. He measured every dollar, every favor, every gesture, and when his children built successful lives without his constant involvement, he couldn't handle it. He lashed out in the most cruel way imaginable. He destroyed his son's wedding, his reputation, his marriage. He did this with malicious intent, using fabricated or illegally obtained evidence. And now my clients seek compensation for the devastation he caused. She was good, emotional without being melodramatic, reasonable sounding. Bernard stood, older, rumpled, but sharp as a blade. Ms. Vance is telling you a story, but it's not the true story. The true story is about 2 adults who committed fraud against their father, who forged legal documents, who borrowed money using property they didn't own. When Arthur Hale discovered this fraud, he did what any reasonable person would do. He exposed it, not quietly, not privately, but publicly, in front of the very people his children were trying to impress. Was it dramatic? Yes. Was it brutal? Absolutely. But was it true? That's what this trial will prove. Every statement Arthur Hale made at that wedding was true. Every document he presented was authentic. And truth is not defamation. Truth is not emotional distress. Truth is just truth, no matter how painful. The trial proceeded. Witnesses for the plaintiffs, friends of Evan and Lisa testifying about what good people they were, how devoted to their father, how his behavior came out of nowhere. Cross-examination destroyed most of them. Bernard. You say Evan talked frequently about his father. Witness. Yes, all the time. Bernard. When was the last time Evan mentioned visiting his father? Witness. I'm not sure. Bernard. Can you recall a single instance of Evan visiting his father in the past 3 years? Witness. Not specifically, but... Bernard. A single phone call he made to check on his father's well-being. Witness. He was busy. Bernard. So devoted, but too busy to call. I see. Evan took the stand on day 4. He looked terrible. Thinner, pale, dark circles under his eyes. The golden boy brought low. Patricia led him through a sympathetic narrative. The struggling young professional trying to help his aging father. The misunderstanding about the paperwork. the shock and humiliation of the wedding confrontation. Then Bernard cross-examined. Mr. Hale, you testified that you were trying to help your father. Let's talk about that help. This email, dated March 15th. Dad's place is worth at least $400K in this market. Once we have legal claim, we can force a sale or buyout. Does that sound like helping? That was taken out of context. What context makes force a sale sound helpful? We were discussing options. Options for taking your father's property, yes or no? It's not that simple. Yes or no, Mr. Hale? Long pause. Yes. And this email to your sister. He's old and tired. He'll fold. Were you discussing helping your father fold? I was frustrated. You were counting on him being too weak to fight back, correct? Yes. And the forged deed, the one transferring 25% ownership of your father's property to you and your sister. You filed that with the county recorder's office. Yes or no? Evan's attorney objected. Your Honor, there's been no proof the deed was forged. Bernard pulled out documents. I have testimony from 3 handwriting experts and the county recorder all confirming the signature on the deed doesn't match Arthur Hale's verified signatures. I have timestamps proving Arthur Hale was in a different location when the deed was supposedly signed. And I have this recording. He played audio. My voice, from a call I'd made to the county recorder's office in September. I'm calling to inquire about a quitclaim deed filed under my name. I did not sign this deed. I did not authorize this transfer. This is fraud. The courtroom went silent. Judge Santos looked at Evan. Mr. Hale, did you file a fraudulent deed? His attorney started to speak. The judge cut her off. Mr. Hale, I'm asking you directly. Did you commit fraud against your father? Evan's face crumpled. For a moment, I saw the 12-year-old who struck out in the championship game. Yes, he whispered. The courtroom erupted. Judge Santos gavelled for order. This trial is in recess. Counsel my chambers, now. In chambers, everything changed. Judge Santos looked at Patricia Vance. Your client just admitted to fraud on the stand. Do you understand what that means? Your Honor, it means this defamation suit is baseless. Arthur Hale told the truth. Everything he said at that wedding was true. Your clients committed fraud, and he exposed it. The manner in which he exposed it is not illegal. Embarrassing, yes. Cruel, perhaps, but not illegal. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. You know this. Why are we wasting the court's time? Patricia's face was stone. My clients still suffered emotional distress. Caused by their own actions, they committed fraud, got caught, and faced consequences. That's not emotional distress. That's justice. Judge Santos turned to Bernard. Do you want to pursue criminal charges? Bernard looked at me. I shook my head slightly. No, Your Honor. My client simply wants his property rights confirmed and these suits dismissed. Done. I'm ruling for the defendant. All claims dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Evan Hale and Ms. Lisa Hale, you're lucky Mr. Arthur Hale isn't pressing criminal charges. If I ever see another case like this in my courtroom, I'll refer it to the prosecutor myself. Get out. We left chambers. In the courtroom, people were still waiting. Judge Santos took the bench. After reviewing evidence in chambers, I'm ruling for the defendant. All claims are dismissed with prejudice. This court finds that Arthur Hale's statements were substantially true and thus not defamatory. Case closed. Gavel. It was over. I walked out of the courthouse into cold February afternoon. Bernard beside me, looking satisfied. You won, he said. Did I? Complete victory. No damages, no liability. Your property rights confirmed. Arthur, you destroyed their case. I destroyed my family. They destroyed your family. You just made sure everyone knew it. We stood on the courthouse steps. People streamed past, lawyers, plaintiffs, defendants, all caught up in their own dramas. What happens now? I asked. You go home. You live your life. You never talk to your kids again unless you want to. That's it. That's it. Justice served. He left. I stood there alone, feeling the weight of everything. I'd won. Legally, completely, definitively. My property was mine. The fraud was exposed. My children's reputations were destroyed. I'd set out to make them face consequences, and I'd succeeded. So why did I feel hollow? I drove home. My 15-year-old Honda, not a Rolls-Royce. My small apartment, quiet and empty. I sat in my kitchen chair and stared at nothing. The viral attention had faded. People moved on to newer scandals, fresher dramas. I was yesterday's internet sensation, already forgotten. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Hale? This is Robert Vandergriff. I sat up straight. Mr. Vandergriff. I wanted to call personally, to apologize. For what? For my daughter marrying your son, for our family getting involved in this mess, for not seeing through Evan sooner. You're not responsible for who your daughter loves. Maybe not, but I am responsible for how I judged you. I thought you were a bitter old man destroying his son's happiness. I was wrong. You were a father protecting himself from theft. Thank you. Vanessa wants to speak with you. Would that be all right? Why? She wants to understand. She spent 73 days married to your son and never knew who he really was. She wants to know the real story. I thought about that. Okay. I'll have her call you. And Mr. Hale? For what it's worth, I think you're a hell of a man. He hung up. Vanessa called the next day. Mr. Hale, thank you for agreeing to talk. Call me Arthur. Arthur, I need to ask you something. Did you love them, your kids, even after everything? The question hit harder than I expected. Yes, I said finally. I did. I do. That's what makes this so terrible. Then why? Why destroy everything? Why not just walk away? Because walking away would have meant accepting what they did, accepting that the years I sacrificed meant nothing, accepting that I was just a resource to exploit. I couldn't do that, even though it cost you everything. What did it cost me? I already lost my children years ago. I just didn't realize it until they tried to take my home. She was quiet. Then, I'm sorry for all of it. You deserved better. So did you. Yeah, she laughed, bitter. I married a fraud. My wedding was destroyed. My parents wasted $100,000. But you know what? Better to find out after 73 days than 73 years. Smart woman. Not smart enough to see through him before the wedding. He was good at pretending. They both were. Were they always like that? I thought about Evan at 12, Lisa at 9, the years before the poison seeped in. No, they used to be good kids. Somewhere along the way they learned to keep score, to measure love in dollars and property. Maybe I taught them that, always calculating, always working. I don't know. It's not your fault, isn't it? No, they made choices, adult choices. You're not responsible for those. We talked for an hour, about family, betrayal, the cost of truth. By the end, I felt something shift, some small release of pressure. Thank you, I said. For what? For asking if I loved them. No one else has asked that. Everyone assumes I did this out of hate. Did you? No, I did it out of love. Twisted, angry love, but love nonetheless. I loved them enough to refuse to let them become people who thought fraud was acceptable. That's a hell of a way to love someone. It's the only way I know. After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen chair and cried for the first time since the wedding. Not quiet tears, gut-wrenching sobs, the kind that come from somewhere deep and fundamental. I cried for the 12-year-old who struck out and needed ice cream, for the 9-year-old who forgot her piano recital and needed comfort, for the years of sacrifice and hope and love that curdled into this moment. When I finished, I felt empty but clean, like a building demolished down to foundation, ready to be rebuilt into something different.